Welcome to the Courage to Be podcast with Tania Vasallo. Before we get into this episode, I want to share with you that I'm on a mission to close the gender gap in the podcasting world so that more and more women's voices are heard. If you feel that this is something you value too, then please rate, review, and share the podcast. And in exchange, and as my way to say thank you to you, I want to give you free access to my signature course called Manifesting Abundance, which typically sells for $997. All you have to do to gain access is leave me a review on Apple Podcasts, take a snapshot of it, and send it to help.thecouragetobe@gmail.com, and we'll get you set up with access to the course. Welcome back to the Courage to Be, where we have powerful conversations to transform your life and your business. And today, in this episode, we have Ericka Kelly. She's the best-selling author, CEO, and the owner of Ericka Kelly Enterprises. She's an accredited independent executive trainer, a professional speaker, and she's a leadership coach with a wealth of expertise and knowledge. She has a background, get this, she's got a background as a senior special agent for the Department of Justice and Homeland Security, and multiple operation missions and deployments as a combat veteran. She was honored by the United States Congress for her contributions to national security, and she holds multiple certifications in human behavior, diversity, equity, and inclusion, communications, and leadership skills, as well as a bachelor's degree in criminal justice and a master's in business administration. So let's speak to Ericka. Welcome, Ericka.
Hello, Tania. How are you?
I'm great, but more importantly, how are you? I am so excited to ask you so many questions about your journey and how you've achieved all these accolades in your life. Tell us a little bit about your journey. Where are you from? How have you arrived to where you're at right now? Because as I'm reading your bio, and all these areas of expertise, that's taken a full journey. Start us from the beginning.
Yes, and it's interesting that you say journey, because sometimes we humans, we look at the superficial things or the presence in front of us. So thank you for introducing me. In my bio, it says, that I was in the military, special agent, that I have certificates here, and here. And if you stop there, then some, not all, but some will go, oh, how lucky is she? Or who does she know that helped her? Or what does she know about someone that she was able to get this or that? And the reality is that, yes, Tania, we all have a journey. And my journey starts in Central America. I was born in Guatemala. And to this day, Tania, I still remember that warm tropical rain. And every afternoon, that warm tropical rain, I used to play with my brothers. And I can tell you that my life completely changed the day that my mother decided to leave, to walk away from us. And when she did so, we lived in a shack. If anybody has been exposed to extreme poverty, picture me.
How old were you, Ericka? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I was 5 years old, two brothers,
wow.
4 and 3. So I was the oldest of 3. And when my mom walked away, she just put us in the shack, safe, and she locked the door from the outside. So sometimes I tell people, that was my safe, that was my home. And from one second to the next, it became a trap. She left. And there I am. And I know that it sounds so crazy, Tania. I was 5 years old. But in that instant, I wasn't anymore. I was 20, 25, 30, 40, 50. I don't know. I just know that something in me said, you are the oldest. I knew that. And because you're the oldest, you need to protect these 2 little boys. Not thinking that I was little too. Isn't that interesting? But nonetheless, Tania, in that room, it was very humid, dark, just not a good feeling. We had a little bit of water, no food. And I highlight that because we can survive everything. I was there with my brothers for 7 days. My grandmother is the one that rescued us. And I tell this story. Can I make this story just a little?
Yeah, Yes, take your time,
I think it's
please. I
important.
am fascinated with this, and I think it's really important to hear it.
Yeah, I think it's important for people to understand how we get conditioned and how we get programmed. I never stopped in those 7 days to bang on those walls. The little shack, during the day, light would come through in the little holes, light would come through. So I knew that it was day. And then when it was dark, I knew it was dark. But I never stopped banging on those walls. And the day that my grandmother comes to rescue us, the door opens up and all this light comes in. And it was almost like a shower. It was a hit of me. I knew I heard the noise. I'm standing in the middle of that room, middle of the room, and the light comes, and the light almost takes me back. So these were my expectations, everyone. Tania, don't judge me, please. But these were my expectations. I'm standing in the middle of that nasty, we were there for 7 days, and I'm expecting my grandmother to see me, to come to me, to give me a hug, just to hold me and to say, you did good, Ericka. That's what I'm expecting. But that's not what happened. My grandma, I call her mom, my grandma sees me and bypasses me and goes to my little brother, as she should have. But my 5-year-old brain doesn't comprehend that. My 5-year-old brain says, I did something wrong. My 5-year-old brain says, you're not good. And that got inside me. As other adults, right? My grandma wasn't alone. As other adults start coming into that place, this is what I see. I see horror in their faces. I see people covering their nose, their mouth, looking, and I see their eyes. And I, again, a 5-year-old girl, I am fixing, Tania, I'm fixing my clothes, whatever clothes I had on, and I'm looking, what are they seeing that's so horrible? I didn't see anything horrible. So then my 5-year-old brain says, you are the horrible thing they're looking at. And I took it in and I accepted it, because that's the only thing I could do as a 5-year-old. Accept. So even though my grandmother took me out of that shack, there were so many things that stayed with me for years. Years later, we survived an earthquake. And again, I saw myself as a 12-year-old now, homeless. We had 4 sheets that were our shelter. We were literally in the middle of the street because we had lost everything. This was in 76. So this is going back when Guatemala was devastated. And because of that earthquake, that mother that had left us years ago came back. And when she saw the conditions that we lived in, she's just made a command decision, Tania, and said, I'm bringing you to the United States with me. No, you're not. Who are you? Tania, I was so angry. One, I didn't remember her. I really didn't. And now here she is, literally pulling me away from my grandmother, the only woman that I know that loved me. And she decides to bring us to the United States by walking. And some people say, why? Why walking? Why not through a bus? Why not through a plane? Well, my mom at the time was married and she had a little girl, a 1-year-old, and she didn't want to tell her husband that she had 3 kids. So we walked, made it to the border. John, my stepdad, met us, learned of our existence then, and it was very ugly, very toxic. Tania, remember the bio, right? You know, command chief in the Air Force. That's fantastic. Special agent for the Department of Justice, the Department of Homeland Security when Homeland was created, business owner now. Fantastic. If we peel the onion, if we peel your journey, right? There's critical steps. In the United States, my mother, who did not develop into the best mother in the world, decided that I was not a good enough daughter. So she kicked me out at the age of 16. So at the age of 16, I am homeless in the streets of Las Vegas, trying to find my place. And the only thing, Tania, that held me together in this country was that I knew that I needed to learn the language and educate myself in order to break that cultural barrier that was holding me back, to break the generational barriers. My mom only has a second grade education. So for her, school is not part of her awareness. It was up to me to break it. The military gave me an amazing opportunity. I was a special agent for 27 years. I loved it, loved it. And so here I am, right? So those are some of the big chunks of my life of how I ended up in this beautiful room with you and your audience, Tania.
Whoa, but there's way too many more questions I have to ask about this, Ericka. It's fascinating. Like as you were telling it, like the tears started, coming out of my eyes, just thinking of like, I just can't even imagine, like if I were 5 years old, if I would have reacted in that way, if I would have reacted at age 12, your mother comes back, and that resilience. I mean, talk about courage. Your life has just been a set of moments of having to tap deep into your courage, one after another, from just this little piece that you've been telling us, Ericka. So, a couple questions here. I'll start with the first one. When you walked to the United States for a better future, and I think this is an important question because there's so many immigrants trying to come into the country, and we just don't know what kind of journey and what kind of life they've had, like you are. Oof, it touches me. How was that journey, Ericka? How long did it take you? What was it like arriving here?
Yes. Recently, a few months ago, I was interviewed by universities that were trying to do documentaries. And they did the research for me, right? As I'm sharing my journey with them. Roughly 1,500 miles. My mom had maybe $300. That's good money in 1976, but not enough for food and shelter for 1,500 miles. So I have to pause. I haven't been asked that question in a very long time, Tania, but we begged on the streets. We walked, it was just the four of us, my two brothers, my mom and I. We walked and we would beg. Some little kids in poor countries have chiclets to sell. We had nothing. We just had a little hands. And that was very foreign to me, right? Like, why am I doing this? So I did not see the magnitude of coming to the United States. I was 12 years old and I wanted to stay with my grandma. So the journey for me, from a personal perspective, I mean, now I'm blessed and I'm happy that I'm here and happy that I found success in the United States. But then I wanted to stay with my grandma. And this woman taking me away from her, also on top of everything that I just shared, anger entered my heart. So here I am, yes, walking, yes, doing this, right? But anger is fueling me. Anger is taking over my heart towards that woman. At one time, the money ran out. People took advantage of us. People loved on us. So we got to see the best and the worst of humanity. I remember walking and finding, this is so crazy, finding a family on the road and them asking us if we needed food and water. And my mom saying, yes, if you have any. This is a poor family, Tania. I remember sitting outside in the dark, little fire in the middle, and them breaking the little tortillas they had so everyone would have a piece. The generosity of humanity. I experienced that firsthand. I remember also something that my mom did. We walked through a kiosk where there's a virgin, and sometimes they put food, sometimes they put little coins in those kiosks. Well, we're hungry. My mom goes into that kiosk, takes the money, and we eat for maybe 2 days. Years later, my mom says, I'm going back to Mexico and I'm going to, and she names whatever little town. And I go, for what? She goes, I have a debt to pay. She made the trip and she took the money that she gave back the money that she took, and she gave some donations to that little town for saving our lives. When we got to the border, my mom had maybe $1.50. And I remember she just took us to the restaurant because she wanted shelter. And the waitress comes and she has the money and she just goes like this. She puts it like that, gives it to the waitress and goes, whatever that can give us, whatever that can give us. And a few minutes later, the waitress comes with 4 full plates of just the food on top of food and water. And we're just like, I mean, we're just looking and eating. The generosity of humanity is what I remember now. We face cruelty and we face really hard times, But I remember the generosity of specific people in that journey, that they're memories now, but I really wish that I knew who those individuals were so I could go back and let them know what happened to me, what happened to us. Yeah.
That is amazing. But what I can see too is just your character, of just focusing on the optimism and the positive of things. And it sounds like that's something that's been carrying you through since that age of 5, being in these horrific scenarios. How did you know at age 16 well, let's go before this question. So you said you're carrying all this anger
Yes.
and you're doing this 1,500-mile journey. You're wanting to stay at home in Guatemala. You have no idea what this is bringing you. All you have is anger. And I'm sure as you're encountering all these difficult situations, I mean, it's great that you can see the beauty and humanity, but you also have the darkness and those horrible moments.
Yes.
And on top of that, you're carrying anger. Did the anger start accumulating more as you were encountering those difficult moments? Or did you manage that as a 12-year-old?
So yes, 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 and yes, Tanya. It was interesting because when I was in that room at 5 years old with my brothers, and something took over me saying, you can do this, you got this. I had no limitations to us surviving. I just knew that we were survive. The limitations came when those individuals, I accepted the perception of what those individuals were doing. I'm sure those individuals loved us, but that's not what I took. So during the journey from Guatemala to the United States, at times was like, and at times I wanted to cry and be sad and miss my grandma and miss the people and be afraid of what was coming because I didn't know what was coming. So, Tanya, this journey of self-growth and self-development and who are we to, when we break it down, that 12-year-old stopped feeling. It was too much. So if I felt tears coming, stop right now. Stop right now. If I felt anger, don't react. There's consequences. There's consequences to that anger. If I felt joy, happy, stop. It's fake. Gonna go away. The only thing is keep pushing. Keep one step, one step, one step, one step, and fight through that fear, fight through that sadness. And if you find joy, remember, it's fake. That's the world, Tanya, that I live, not just during that journey, but coming to the United States. I never seen a building before. I tell people electricity was new. I literally would, not I, my 2 brothers and I, we would play with the light switch because we thought it was magic. We thought it was so weird to have indoor plumbing. Who does that inside your house? There was no concept. So it's not that we were immigrants to the United States. We were, and maybe I can use this word, we were so primitive. We didn't know the basics of having a structure as a shelter that we could call home. We didn't
That
even
is
know
amazing.
lock a door. Yeah, yeah.
It's just a whole day of seeing and perceiving life, as you're explaining this,
Mm.
Erica. Let's take a quick pause, and I want to come back because this story is fascinating, Ericka.
Hi there, I have something really cool for you. I want to give you free access to my signature course called Manifesting Abundance, which typically sells for $997. You can check out all the details in the show notes. All you have to do to gain access is leave me a review on Apple Podcast, take a snapshot of it, and send it to help.thecouragetobe@gmail.com, and we'll get you set up with access to the course. You can also find other free goodies in the show notes. Go check them out.
So we're back here. You were just saying how at age 12, that anger, or if any of your feelings, you learn how to stop them.
Yeah.
Just don't feel them, almost like numb them to a degree. Have you been able to tap into those feelings now and experience and allow yourself and give yourself permission to experience anger or experience a tear and allow a tear to come down or experience the joy? Like, how did you move and transition, giving yourself permission to feel?
Yeah, absolutely. It took a long time, Tanya. It wasn't this is not healthy for me. And I had no one. I really didn't have a proximity to good role models. My mom, this is no criticism to my mom. She wasn't a good role model. John, my stepdad, was so angry at her, but we're the ones that got the anger at the beginning, at least. He wasn't a good role model at that time. So I did not know. So I just stayed. The way that I was, again, able to pull away is to tell myself, in this country, language is important. I knew, just like I knew in the room, I knew that in order to make it in the United States, I needed to assimilate to the culture of the United States, and language was my first step. Education followed very closely. And as I took that journey, I was then fighting with a mother that didn't understand that because she didn't have the awareness. She would tell me, what is wrong with staying here? Because this is where you belong. Know your place in this country. Know your place in this country. So in Las Vegas, she was a housekeeper for a motel, not even a nice hotel or anything, a motel in Vegas. And that's what she wished for me. That was my destiny. And when I said, how about, Mom, if I finish high school, because I thought at the time high school was it. If I finish high school, I have made it in the United States, right? And she goes, absolutely not. The family needs money. That's a waste of time. So here, two paradigms fighting, in which I told my mom, how about if I go to school, I educate myself, and we get to stay at Caesar's Palace one day? Couldn't see it, could not see it. Sometimes, we talk, I'm a coach now, you're a coach, and we talk to people that they're friends, and they're the closest people to them are the ones that are pulling them back to that ugly comfort zone that we're trying to break away from. So my mom was that obstructor. My mom was this is where you belong. Remember who you are, and who you are is here. So it was pretty amazing years later, right, to stay at Caesar's and my mom still lived in Vegas, and to invite my mom, right? I go, Mom, I'm in Vegas. Come and see me. Where are you? Meet me in the lobby of Caesar's. Caesar's, right? Because again,
She
foreign.
can't comprehend it. Yeah.
And even though she knows that I'm already in the Air Force, I'm an agent, all this stuff, she still doesn't have the awareness. She comes to the lobby. I take her to my suite, and she's like, what is this? And I go, Mom, remember when? And I reminded her of not just one conversation, multiple conversations. And I said, stay with me for the weekend. Stay here with me in this week. And I just needed to show her that her dream was to come to the United States. That was it. But her self-limiting beliefs stayed with her. And I fought mine. And now, yes, going back to your question, Tania, of course, I have been able to process and truly feel joy and gratitude for every single second of my life. Before, I have played, I'm a victim, it's not fair, why me? Not anymore. Not anymore.
It's
Now say,
amazing.
why not me? Why not me so
Mhm.
I can help others? Why not me so I can be the example that it's possible?
Well, this is fascinating, Erica. But how does a 16-year-old, so you get kicked out, you make it to the States, that's your mom's dream, it's okay, we made it here, but it doesn't grow past working at a motel, cleaning,
Mhm.
being a cleaning person at a motel. But you had the awareness at 16 that you needed to learn the language, that you needed education, and you had a bigger vision, that much bigger than your mom's. Where did that come from?
It just, I knew that I was part of something bigger than myself.
So you felt
Somehow
that inside.
I did. I did.
Do you
Even,
think you felt that when you were 5, Erica?
I think
When you
so.
got put in that yeah, that's
Tanya, I think so. And even when I talk about my anger years, and sometimes I talk about anger being a good igniter, right? Because anger, gives you that energy to push forward. It's not sustainable to stay there, right? Because then you burn out. But sometimes anger is a good igniter to push you forward. But going back to that, Tanya, I truly believe, we can call it anything. I call it God, but even now, like right now, when I did this, I feel the energy inside me, Tanya. Oh, it's a quiet energy. It's something that I need to slow this down so I can feel it and I can hear it. But I knew it when I went in the Air Force. I was 22. And again, that's another story, but I was 22 when I went in the Air Force and broken English. I'm 5'2", 115 pounds, 110 pounds. So if you see me, you don't think, oh, law enforcement. Oh, right, a warrior. No, it's me, right? But when I went into the Air Force and when I'm working at finding me, not I'm not accepting labels. You're poor, you're stupid, you're dumb, you don't speak the. I'm trying really hard to peel off all the labels that I had accepted. And when I went into the Air Force, and the Air Force said yes to me, yes, you are worthy of being one of us. Yes, you're worthy of being here. Tanya, I made a promise. I made a promise that they would never, ever, they meaning the Air Force, they meaning the United States, they would never be ashamed of saying yes to me being part of them. The military became a family. The military became my mentors, the proximity that I was looking for to great people. I started modeling them, even though I didn't feel it. I borrowed their faith and I just kept walking and walking and walking. I ended up at the Pentagon. I ended up being the top enlisted for the whole Air Force Reserve. In some rooms, Tanya, I was top 10. The Air Force is divided in 10 pieces of the pie. I was a top enlisted in one of those pieces. In some rooms, the Air Force is divided into 3: the Guard, the Reserve, and the active duty. I was part of that triad, top enlisted of the Reserve component. It's incredible to say it out loud, and it was more incredible to live it.
It's amazing. Did you have that determination? I mean, because when you said that you promised yourself that they would be proud of you, that they would not be ashamed, meaning the Air Force, meaning the country, and that you got to be part of them, because your ambition is so humongous, and just seeing all the different layers of what you've achieved, so now you get into the Air Force, been part of the Pentagon, like what have been your biggest achievements within that journey, Erica, that you're mostly proud of?
Again, I have to go back to humanity. When I first entered the Air Force, I was not an executive in the Air Force. When I first entered, I was a medic. And so it was that touching another human and making that connection. The biggest moment for me that I can think of is my first deployment. Was it my first deployment? I think so. We deployed. I was excited. We trained. And then I'm getting on that plane in uniform with my stuff, and I'm looking around everyone in the plane, and I'm excited. And then something clicks. What are you excited about, young lady? You're going to war. And it ground that thought, right? And thoughts have power, yes? That grabbed me and grounded me on the reality of what I was excited about. But you know what I was excited about? I was excited about being valued. Remember that 5-year-old? I was excited that I was part of something. I was excited that I was welcomed. I was excited that I belonged to something. But that voice grounded me to say, no, this is not about you. You're going to war, and war is war. So this is the moment, Tania. I'm flying airback. So my job as a medic is to transport the injured inside a plane, cargo plane. And the way that the patients are put are 5 tiers. Well, there's this young Marine on the 5th tier. He's one of my patients. And I have to climb from letter to letter to letter to get to him. And when I get to him, I see that he's holding a picture. He doesn't like the turbulence of the plane. And he says, are we going to make it? And I look at him like, of course we're going to make it. And I see the photo, young lady, little baby. And I said, wife, baby? And he just does this. And I go, of course we're going to make it. And then I touch his belly and I feel softness. So I know that they did surgery out in the field, but he needs more in Germany where we're going. Tania, I take my glove off. I'm holding on for dear life because I'm on the 5th tier. And I put my hand on his forehead. And the minute that human touch, right, between him and I happened, tears started rolling down his eyes. His body relaxed. And I told him, trust me, I got you. At the end of the flight, I'm on one side of the plane. He's being deplaned on the other side. And he's looking. And I'm looking. And we make eye contact. And he does this. That's thank you from a Marine, right? And then I, with my cute little flight suit on, put my hands on my waist and I go back to him saying, you're welcome, brother. That story has kept me going. I served for 32 years in the Air Force. And that story has kept me going.
You are an incredible beacon of light. At 5'2", 110 pounds, it's just, yes, you are a force to be reckoned with. And I have to have you as a poster child of courage. We've had so many incredible stories on the podcast of just courage, but I try and put myself in your position and say, would I have done the same thing? And I don't know if I would have tapped into this. I know we each have our own journey, but this is fascinating. And I want to get more in detail with being part of the Pentagon and others. But if you've been fascinated with Ericka's story, please come and listen to us in our next episode, where we'll get to talk about persistence, communication, and how to apply these things and how to apply everything that Ericka's learned along her journey. So thank you so much. Let me ask you, Ericka, where can people find you? Because you do coaching nowadays, and you have your own business. We've been focused on this, but I want to know, how can people find you and learn from you?
I think the best way for individuals to connect, and for me to connect with you, is to go to my website. It's ericakelly.enterprises.com. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, sign up every single day, everyone. Every single day, I send a leadership message. And it's not a leadership message from a book. It's not because I learned it in a classroom. It's a combination of me living that message and the classroom and the book. I don't teach from
I
theory.
love it. I love that. I'm going to sign up for that one. What's one thing that we can leave our audience with to live a life with more courage, Ericka?
Yes. Oh, my goodness. What a powerful question. Take risk, my friends. Take risk and understand that whatever your present condition is, good, bad, or ugly, whatever it is, it's temporary. So if it's very good, protect it and build on it. If it's bad, it's temporary. Learn how to get out of it. And if it's ugly, it's your choice to move forward and not look back.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much for your gracefulness and being here with us, Ericka.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Tania, for having me.
Hi there. I have something really cool for you. I want to give you free access to my signature course called Manifesting Abundance, which typically sells for $997. You can check out all the details in the show notes, and all you have to do to gain access is leave me a review on Apple Podcasts, take a snapshot of it, and send it to help.thecouragetobe@gmail.com, and we'll get you set up with access to the course.